Every woman has a breaking point. But when some lose their cool, others lose their lives. Why does a young woman want blood?
When those two got together, the personalities combined for a total disaster.
What makes a devout follower commit the deadliest sin?
To her, Sister Yanina was an evil temptress.
And how does a successful mother plunge to despicable depths?
Shut up! She had gone into a murderous overdrive.
These deadly women are quick to anger, lashing out when they lose their red-hot temper. Shreveport, Louisiana. Teenager Brandy Holmes is locked up in juvenile prison. It's not for the first time.
By the time Brandy was 13, she had dropped out of school, joined a gang, and was involved in a drive-by shooting.
Better move today?
Even by juvenile delinquent standards, that's pretty rapid progress.
I can tell you there were many convictions at a juvenile level.
You better show me some respect. Get a life. Hey.
She threw acid on another individual in the prison. There were other instances where she was taking broken glass and making weapons.
The female warden described Brandy as being pretty tough. When a warden described someone as tough, take it as fact.
By the time that she reaches adulthood, she is a well-seasoned criminal.
Some believe the root of Brandy's wicked ways comes from a bottle before she was even born.
Because Brandy's mother drank throughout her pregnancy, Brandy probably had fetal alcohol syndrome,
10, 9, 8.
followed by parental neglect. Her mother was drunk all the time.
3, 2, 1,
Brandy was named after her mom's favorite drink. Doesn't that tell you everything you need to know about that girl?
But by New Year's Eve, 2003, things are looking up for 23-year-old Brandy.
Oh, baby, Happy New Year.
She has a man in her life, 33-year-old Robert Coleman.
She saw him as her savior or her bedrock, who she was connected and most deeply committed to.
My New Year's resolution is...
The couple has come home for the holidays,
Who's got a New Year's resolution?
and Brandy's mom is in the mood to celebrate.
Yeah, I got a New Year's resolution. Oh, yeah? Mine's to hit the lick.
Hitting a lick is just a street term for doing a robbery or jacking somebody up and taking their money.
Nobody takes Brandy seriously, except Robert. He's a career criminal.
Very, very cold. One of the coldest persons I'd ever met.
Brandy was drawn to Robert because Robert was bad. Brandy never would have gotten involved with a customer service representative of the local bookstore.
With Robert by her side, this is one New Year's resolution Brandy intends to keep.
No more trouble. What makes you think I mean to get in trouble?
This was a guy who told Brandy she was special, and for her, that meant everything. Brandy and Robert are that classic example of two people who meet and nothing but trouble comes from that union.
We're gonna have a lot of fun.
The next day, Brandy visits a friend's grave. But she's not here to mourn. She's stalking her prey.
Brandy would go and sit on that gravestone. And when you sit there, you're looking at the Brandons' back door.
Retired pastor Julian Brandon and his wife, 68-year-old Alice,
Take it easy.
live in the nicest house on the block.
Come on, Alice, I'm not over the hill just yet.
People really, really love them.
I'll do it.
About to celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary. They've spent their lives helping others.
The Brandons were incredibly charitable, sometimes to the detriment of themselves and their children, just to make sure somebody else was okay. That's who these folks were.
Brandy doesn't know the pastor and his wife, but she believes these perfect strangers will make the perfect target.
When couples meet, they look for common ground. For some people, it's a book that they're both reading, or maybe a wine tasting. For Brandy and Robert, it was hurting other people.
Hey, I did it. I did it. I found the perfect couple. Yeah.
It was a match made in hell.
They were on a path of destruction.
Yeah, they are weak as kittens. Are you excited?
These two were hell-bent on committing murder.
New Year's Day, 2003. With the end of the holiday season, Julian and Alice Brandon enjoy a quiet night at home.
Just relaxing, with the holidays behind them.
Brandy Holmes and her boyfriend, Robert Coleman,
She's coming now.
are ready to hit the lick.
Can I help you?
There's a knock at the door, and Julian answers it.
Yeah, well, get in the house.
And they rush in.
Get in the house.
But this is more than a robbery.
Coleman immediately shot him through the head.
Help! What is it?
Do it, baby, do it.
Brandy and Robert were out of control. They were excited. For a murder game, this was their Super Bowl.
Next, they turn on Alice.
She's elderly. She's terrified. She's thinking that these people are going to do something terrible, and I don't know if I'm going to survive.
They were trying to get credit cards and trying to get Miss Brandon to tell them the PIN number to the credit card.
Where's the money? I don't have any money. I'm doing anything with you.
Miss Brandon said, "Oh, sweet Jesus, please don't shoot me."
Baby, can I have the gun?
And they shot her.
They steal cash, credit cards, and jewelry. But as they're leaving, they discover the pastor isn't dead. For Brandy, it's the perfect opportunity to show Robert how cruel she can be.
They grabbed several knives and started pummeling this old man. Stabbing him in the chest, the face, the top of the head, the back, the neck, slashed his throat. These two were maniacs.
This murder was very brutal, very violent. I think Robert and Brandy were trying to impress each other with how bad they could be, and they were also trying to impress the world with how bad they are.
It's 4 days before concerned neighbors raise the alarm.
Mr. Brandon didn't show up at church that morning. They went to the house and they saw 3 or 4 newspapers laying in the driveway.
Hello? Julian?
And so the neighbors got kind of worried.
Call 911.
First thing you see is bloody footprints all over the living room area, dining area.
The police are shocked to find that Alice is still alive.
She was shot in the head. I don't know how she survived.
Base, this is Officer 442.
It's amazing that Alice survived the attack. It was brutal, horribly violent, and she was an elderly woman.
Now Brandy tries to cash in, hawking the stolen jewelry.
So what you got?
Here. Rings, 3.
Brandy wants everyone to know she's a tough girl.
Bracelet?
That is nice.
Yeah. Solid gold. That's worth something, right?
Gold. So where'd you get them from?
I killed an old couple.
Brandy was bragging about killing a couple of old people near a church.
Sure you did.
I'm not kidding.
But her ego will be her downfall.
Someone called in a tip, and she was even selling somebody's jewelry. So the police went after her.
Brandy seems happy to brag to everyone,
Good afternoon.
even the police.
Ma'am, you take your shoes off, please.
My shoes.
Yes, please.
Brandy had some shoes on that looked similar to the bloody shoe prints at Mr. Brennan's residence.
Thank you very much.
She offers up the shoes and a confession.
I'd like to talk to you about Mrs. Brandon's credit cards.
We burned them.
Where?
She gave up Robert and she gave up herself. She admitted to the murder.
Investigators get all the details they need.
I can show you, but I'd have to show you something else.
I mean, what?
And she said, well, if I show you that, I'll have to show you something else. And he said, like, well, what? Another dead body.
And just where is this dead body?
I thought, this is unbelievable.
It seems just 4 days after their first murder,
There he is.
Brandy wanted to kill again.
The analogy that I always made was natural-born killers.
It's a senseless thrill kill of a friend, 25-year-old Terrence Blaze.
After they killed the first time, the second killing would be very easy. And it was.
They just killed for the fun of it.
In 2005, Brandy Holmes and Robert Coleman are convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death.
If Brandy and Robert had not been caught, I believe they probably would have gone on to be involved in a rather horrible killing spree.
From an early age, Brandy lacks basic humanity. Cruelty became her best friend.
Because of the fetal alcohol syndrome, there was no way that wasn't going to have a very bad effect on Brandy's future. And it did.
When anger takes hold,
Perhaps she saw herself as an avenging angel.
hearts can turn to stone.
If someone published this as a novel, it would be rejected as being too far-fetched.
And even saints can become sinners.
Nun, housekeeper, sex, confession,
And on top of all of that, murder.
In a tiny convent in Isidore, Michigan, in 1907, a stirring hymn rings out. 33-year-old Sister Janina is a real-life Maria von Trapp.
She loved to sing. She loved to play the piano. She was very outgoing.
Orphaned at a young age, Janina is raised by the nuns and is happy to remain in the bosom of the church.
She was their favorite. I think they doted on her. Everybody loved Sister Janina.
Everybody, except for the rectory housekeeper.
Stella and Sister Janina really had nothing in common. Their attitudes, their outlook on life, their lot in life, and Stella resented her.
38-year-old Stella Lipchinska is a dark cloud in the parish.
Children avoided her whenever they could. Even friends and family were a little bit intimidated and fearful of her.
For the deeply devout Polish immigrant, only two things matter: worship and work.
Stella regarded herself as an icon of the perfect work ethic. No one else measured up.
Not even the Holy Sisters.
You have shows to do. Not like that noble nun.
I think Stella looked at the nun's life in comparison to her own. They got to contemplate, teach, and pray. And it seemed to her that they had it easy.
Beautiful Sister Superior. God really gave you a gift.
Stella resents Sister Janina's carefree attitude.
Father, dinner's ready. I fear it's burnt by now.
She looked up to the idea of nuns, but I think very few actual human beings could fulfill that role that Stella thought that they should be doing.
There's another reason Sister Janina draws Stella's ire.
Sister Janina and the father were very close. They became good friends.
He was her priest, and she had a fondness for him. But men were not allowed to be alone with nuns.
Father, should you be in here?
He shouldn't have been spending any time there.
Stella dislikes Sister Janina's influence on Father Andrew.
Stella thought that she wasn't acting like a nun, she wasn't behaving like a nun, and she and Father Andrew were spending far too much time together.
I was just telling Sister the exciting news about the bishop visiting.
Day after day after day, they'd be late for dinner. And I think to her, that kind of was insulting.
Let us pray.
Sister Janina and the father spend more and more time together.
Janina.
To Stella, it can mean only one thing.
Father Andrew and Sister Janina were having a love affair.
110 years ago, that would have been just earth-shattering.
Stella is furious.
To her, Sister Janina was an evil temptress. The Catholic Church was the most important thing in Stella's life. When she saw Sister Janina violating her holy vows, she was enraged, and it gave her more reason to hate her.
But she doesn't confront Sister Janina or the father.
You would never question a priest or a nun. I mean, you'd be damned to hell if you did that.
Lord, give me strength. I'm surrounded by sinners.
She's trying to live this moral, pure life. And then right under her nose is the worst kind of sin she could possibly imagine.
As Stella watches her parish fall into sin, she seeks spiritual guidance.
Please give me a sign.
She had her religion to back her up, and she believed that everything that she did was prescribed by God.
And this housekeeper wants divine justice.
She saw herself as an avenging angel.
August 23rd, 1907, Isidore, Michigan. In just days, the Holy Rosary Parish will receive an esteemed visitor.
Exciting news about the bishop visiting. It is a great privilege.
It was a real honor. And they had this new school, and the bishop was going to come and bless it.
But to rectory housekeeper Stella Lipchinska, the sinful parish is unworthy. She has discovered a scandal in their midst.
Here was the bishop coming to bless this church. And there was a mother superior who she thought was a slut.
When Stella sees Sister Yanina go down to the church basement, she decides to get rid of her permanently.
She just couldn't take it anymore. And I think Stella saw the nun there. And that moment she lost control.
When Stella hit Sister Yanina on the back of the head, it might have been a spur-of-the-moment action, but I think she'd been thinking about it for quite a while. She hated Sister Yanina.
Sister Yanina is knocked unconscious and appears to be dead. But she's not.
While Stella was in the process of burying her, Sister Yanina rose up. So Stella whacked her a couple more times. She lost consciousness again. Stella started throwing dirt over her body one more time. Again, Sister Yanina rose up and got a few more whacks.
She would have died a slow and painful death and was buried alive. That's what Stella did. That's sadistic.
It's not long before Sister Yanina's absence is noticed.
Have you seen Sister Superior?
Ask Father.
He's fishing.
Two of the sisters appear at Stella's kitchen doorway and ask Stella if she's seen Sister Yanina.
I don't know where she is.
Stella puts them off. She's not interested in what happened to some flighty nun.
Maybe the dog's got her.
She makes some joke about, well, maybe the dog got her.
We're worried.
And I have work to do.
She has no empathy for what happened to the sister.
Yet when Father Andrew returns home, Stella races to break the news.
Father!
Sister!
Sister Yanina is missing. We've looked everywhere.
She couldn't wait to tell Father Andrew that Yanina was missing. I think she wanted to see the look on his face.
Check the church.
They were immediately searching for her.
I looked at the cells.
They went through the woods, they went through the swamp, they looked everywhere trying to find her.
Yanina!
As days turn into weeks and weeks become months, hope of finding Sister Yanina fades.
Once the snow started to fall that winter, the investigation went cold. There was no hope of finding any more evidence of what happened to her.
But few secrets stay buried forever, and Stella has a guilty conscience.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.
Stella cannot live with what she has done.
Do you have anything to confess?
But she can't confess locally because she knows then she'll be found out.
Yes, Father.
She takes a steamer across Lake Michigan to give a confession.
I killed Sister Janina. She was an ungodly woman.
It's a confession too dark for the priest to keep quiet, and whispers spread through the church.
Rumors swelled that the missing nun was buried underneath the church. The rumors were traced back to a priest who heard the confession of the killer. So much for the sanctity of the confessional.
The church covers up the story for a decade, until a new priest shares his big plans to pull the old church down.
Before you build that church, what are you going to do with the nuns' bones buried in the basement?
What is it?
You better take care of them first.
Finally, the murder is exposed.
They found bones. They found a rotted nun's habit. And a silver and iron ring that was from the same class that Sister Janina graduated from.
But there's something else that no one expects.
The biggest shock of the discovery was not the fact that the skull was fractured, but the fact that her skeleton was coiled around a smaller skeleton.
Sister Janina was pregnant.
It's tragic proof that Stella was right. Unholy acts were taking place behind that door.
I think Father Andrew really did love the sister. I don't know if that love was returned because she was so sheltered.
Stella Lepchinska's confession comes back to haunt her.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.
She's found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison.
She saw herself as sort of the moral center of a parish that had gone off the rails.
Some believe Stella is driven by more than righteous fury.
This was too personal. This was too brutal and cold. This is a crime committed by a woman in love with something unattainable. And that unattainable object was Father Andrew.
Stella took it upon herself to play God, all because she was jealous of her. It's bad enough murdering a nun. Murdering a pregnant nun? I don't think you can go to heaven after you do that.
Next, some women have it all.
She had a husband, a young child, a great job.
Including a fatal flaw.
The alcohol unmasked murderous rage.
That sparks an unbelievable horror.
In the hundreds of murder cases that I've looked at, this one stands out the most.
Want to know more about the women featured in tonight's episode? Visit us online. Northern Ireland in 2008. During the week, 42-year-old Karen Walsh runs her own business in the Irish capital, Dublin.
Karen ran a very successful pharmaceutical business, and she was very well respected by her peers.
On the weekends, she and her family leave big city life for their new house in the country.
She was good looking. She was educated. She was a successful professional woman, married to a successful man, and had a little boy. To the outside world, Karen Walsh had it all going on.
But behind closed doors, Karen is riddled with insecurities.
Although everyone thought very well of Karen, there were problems lying beneath.
She had hair extensions. She used Botox.
Darling, you look great.
No, I need a top up.
She seems to have been quite vain.
And being a wife and mom isn't satisfying her.
She distanced herself from the responsibilities of being a parent.
You beat him.
And she must have been feeling detached in many ways.
Karen prefers to spend her time out of the house. Her neighbor, Moira Rankin, welcomes the new friendship warmly.
Oh, top of the morning to you, Karen.
Moira was an 81-year-old widowed mother of 8. She was the real heart and soul of her family.
I've got a wee present for you. Oh, you
They seemed to get on very well. In fact, Moira had spoken highly of Karen and said she'd helped her on occasion.
What is it?
But soon it becomes clear there is something strange about Karen.
Vodka. It's very kind of you, but I don't drink much.
Karen visited Moira several times and always took a bottle of alcohol with her.
Come on, have a drink with me. Just a little one.
Moira didn't even drink, and Karen downed the whole bottle.
Thank you.
Karen reveals the side she keeps secret from the world. She is a raging alcoholic.
Her husband probably wouldn't let her drink in her own home, so she left and drank in someone else's home.
For years, she keeps her addiction hidden.
Nothing else in her life mattered. She didn't drink because she was under stress. Stress in her life was created because of her drinking. And she had to drink.
Moira is the perfect drinking buddy.
Who's there? It's me, Karen. Oh, for pity's sake.
Karen doesn't have to share.
Just here for a little chat. Oh, it's not a chat you're after. It's a drink or three.
Moira's home had become a safe place for Karen to drink alcohol. Karen soon started making quite a nuisance of herself.
With Christmas approaching,
You're still coming over our place for Christmas Eve, right?
Of course. I'm looking forward to it.
Moira confides to her daughter that Karen's drinking is escalating.
Is that neighbor still bothering you?
Oh, she came over late last night.
Moira started saying to her family she couldn't quite understand why Karen was going around there.
No.
She was becoming a bit alarmed that Karen was turning up late at night and with whiskey.
Or at least she won't be annoying you on Christmas then.
No.
In the Walsh household, festive cheer is in short supply, along with everything else.
Karen had a very strange Christmas Eve.
She stayed in bed until noon. She hadn't bought any Christmas presents.
While Karen was consuming excessive amounts of alcohol, the alcohol was consuming her life.
Been all over the place.
She ended up rushing round to a local shop at 4 o'clock in the afternoon of Christmas Eve just to get some presents to give to her own son.
Santa almost didn't come.
Got what's important though.
She didn't prepare at all for Christmas, but she made sure she had a bottle of liquor on Christmas Eve. That's how it was for her.
Karen finds her Christmas spirit at the bottom of a bottle, but soon she'll have more than a hangover to worry about.
Merry Christmas!
The most stunning thing about this crime is that it came out of nowhere.
Shut up!
She had gone into a murderous overdrive.
Newry, Northern Ireland, 2008. It's Christmas Eve, and everyone is at home with their families.
Hello? Oh, hello, dear.
Except 81-year-old Moira Rankin.
That Christmas Eve, Moira was supposed to go and stay with her daughter for the holiday. But she had a chest infection, so she stayed at home instead.
Down the street, with her family in bed, Karen Walsh's only company is a bottle of vodka.
Karen drank almost a liter of vodka over Christmas Eve. Her inhibitions were gone. The quantity of alcohol that she ingested would have caused most people to become comatose, yet she was still able to function.
Close to midnight, Karen appears in Moira's house like the ghost of Christmas past.
She got into the house. We're not quite sure whether she let herself in or the door was open or she had a key. And she went upstairs.
Merry Christmas! Heavens above, what are you doing here? I come to celebrate the birth of baby Jesus with you. Here, have a drink. Get that away from me. You don't sound too good.
Moira's patience has finally worn thin.
Get off me bed.
Maura asked Karen to leave.
You should be home with your family.
To stop drinking, and she chastised her. Not only for her drinking, but that she wasn't home with her family on Christmas.
You have a 2-year-old son.
Karen was stung by Maura's judgment, that she'd be a better mother, that she spend more time with her child, and that she not drink.
What sort of mother are you who gets drunk on Christmas Eve?
How dare you tell me to be home with my family on Christmas Eve?
Shut up, Betty!
In her drunken state, Karen's anger is uncontrollable and all-consuming.
Karen Walsh was seriously intoxicated. She would have had almost no impulse control.
She clearly didn't like the criticism, and she just snapped. She attacked Moira, pulling out her hair, leaving clumps of hair lying around the room. She then climbed onto the bed and got a crucifix that was on the wall and attacked Moira with it. She cracked 15 of her ribs.
Karen beat Maura so severely that she left a pattern of injury on Maura's chin. It was the crown of thorns on Jesus' head.
Now Karen must cover her tracks. Her liquored mind dredges up the blackest plan.
What she did then to Moira afterwards defies belief and takes her crime to a whole new level.
She sat on her chest, and she used the broken crucifix to sexually assault her. Karen may have violated Maura with a crucifix to make the whole thing look like a sex crime. But she also may have done it because she saw Maura as a sanctimonious person, and she was going to teach her a lesson.
Karen passes out on Moira's bed. Several hours later, she's in for a rude awakening.
Karen woke up in the home of an elderly woman that she brutally murdered.
Karen tried to contact her husband 7 times from a phone in Moira's house. But some of the digits were wrong.
Oh, no.
She was in a real frenzy, in a state of absolute panic when she tried to phone her husband.
Karen returns home. But it's not long before the shocking scene is found.
Moira's body was discovered on Christmas Day by her daughter and her husband. And what greeted them as they walked into the house was a scene of absolute devastation.
I can't believe it.
Hoping to find a witness, the police question Moira's neighbors.
Karen insisted to police that she visited Moira for just half an hour, had a drink, and then went home after having hugged and kissed Moira. Happy Christmas.
But Moira's phone records give Karen away.
When police looked at Moira's phone, they realized that it had been that which had been used to try and dial Karen's husband's numbers in the early hours of Christmas morning.
And Karen leaves a telltale trail of evidence.
Karen's DNA was on Moira's chin and her body, and then, of course, the litre bottle of vodka that was still in the house.
Karen Walsh was definitely present at that death scene.
In 2011, a jury finds Karen Walsh guilty of murder and sentences her to 28 years behind bars. The burning question: did the demon drink make Karen kill? Or did the alcohol unmask the monster within?
Karen is the only person responsible for what happened. Alcohol and drugs open the floodgates for whatever is there to come out. If Karen Walsh is ever a free woman and drinks, run like the wind.
These deadly women were easily enraged. Brandy Holmes' black past triggered a thirst for blood. When Stella Lipchinska took offense, she played judge, jury, and executioner. And Karen Walsh's drinking unleashed her darkest fury. Innocent lives were taken when they lost their red-hot temper.